This episode of Small Business Leaders Podcast is brought to you by Adams Lane Photography.
Hi, and welcome to this edition of the Small Business Leaders Podcast, brought to you from the Legacy Podcast Studio in historic downtown Kernersville, North Carolina. My name's Lamar Powell, and my wonderful co-host is not on vacation, but she's home recovering from a medical procedure. She's doing well. She misses you guys, and she'll be back really soon. On today's episode, we are revisiting one of our local businesses here in Kernersville, Fitz on Main. We have David Fitzpatrick, who's lovingly known as Fitz, and April Lancaster, his sidekick. And 232 days ago, they suffered a devastating fire in their business. They sat down at this table about a month after that took place, and today they're sitting down with us again. We have a lot to talk about. So in the words of my co-host, let's get started. Well, David and April, it is awesome to have you guys back with us in the studio. And the last time you were at this table was, I think, like July 1st. We filmed the podcast, released it about a week later. Mm-hmm. But I counted the days. This is how special this was. 232 days ago today. Wow. Was when that fire took place. So a lot of days have taken place. But I'm excited for you guys to be here because I know you're getting ready to open again. And we have a lot to talk about today. So, man, let's just get started with it. So I think the first thing I'd like to start with, I guess with you, Dave, is looking back. Because the last time we did our podcast, we had talked about, that had to be such an emotional thing to go through. And both of you shared a lot of the story of what happened on that day. Anything changed since then on your feelings and how you view all of that? Because a lot of time has passed now. Mm-hmm. We're talking about almost 8 months since all that happened. Anything changed?
Yeah, it's almost like a time warp. This almost 8 months now, and the things that have happened, not only to Fitz on Main and us trying to rebuild, but the appreciation for humanity is even stronger now. We probably have like 7 to 10 visitors a day that come by. And it's hard to get our work done, but everybody wants to peek in. Everybody wants to offer their help and advice. The other thing that has changed in that time is what our country's been through, what Western North Carolina's been through, and kind of placing what we've been through, and that really prioritizes the essence of life and what's really important. And then what happens on the West Coast with Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot more empathy for certain to see despair and what happens, but in those dark clouds you find the silver lining, and we've certainly had many blessings.
Yeah, a lot to be thankful for, don't we? I know my co-host Audra, who would love to be here today, but she had just recently been in California, in Los Angeles, and the hotel that they were staying at, they could see fire on 3 sides. They had a balcony, was able to look out, and they just had a really an appreciation and thankfulness for things back here and what people were dealing with there. So really heartbreaking.
It's one thing to lose a business, but from a priority standpoint, the folks that we've seen and we've witnessed with the remnants of the hurricane in Western North Carolina, I mean, they're losing their houses. They're losing their not only their livelihood, but their safe place, their home. Yes. And then same in Los Angeles. So woe is we is no longer, it prioritizes what's most important in life, I think.
So April, what about you?
We have gained a lot of friends, and become closer with people that we kind of just saw, once a week maybe, that come really by every day. And we get to spend time, I don't get to talk. I have to cook. So I don't get to actually sit and chit chat with people. And we've had a lot of, people just come and help us. And I guess my two thoughts would be, fire is a big deal, and I can't even imagine what's happening in California.
Right.
But have the whole different way I look. If I smell it, fire trucks,
Yes.
smoke in the distance, what do I need to do? You don't wait. So thank goodness for that guy who didn't wait and who just kept
Right.
on driving. Thank goodness he saw, that doesn't look
Something
exactly
doesn't look right.
right.
Yeah.
Maybe I should check into it. And so that's important for all of us. You don't want to be nosy. You don't want to be in people's business, but he may have saved the block.
Sure.
He may have
Right.
Could
he
have been a different
lessened.
story.
It could be a different story, yes.
Yeah.
And then we've lost friends,
So
in
I've
8
seen some of
months.
that. So
yeah.
talk about that for just a little bit.
Well, and that's so hard because
is
people
hard.
that you see every day, Billy Edwards has been the most recent.
Yeah.
And he was there every day, and he would say, April, ambrosia, it's just ambrosia. What does that even mean? And I didn't know. And so the day of his funeral, I looked up what ambrosia means, and it means something very good. And he was giving me this great compliment, and I just kind of was, thanks, Billy, and sloughing it off or whatever.
Right.
So there have been a few that have passed that we'll miss, and that's hard. So
Yeah, and I think I've seen some of the posts that have been made, and that were real touching to me because you realize how important
Yes.
that Fitz on Main is to so many people. It's important to them, and that has been expressed over these months in so many different ways.
Right.
So I think another question I'd like to ask in all of this, I know at the beginning there's so many struggles you're dealing with. The government agencies and contractors and rebuilding, tearing out, all of these things. Was there any time that in all of that you thought like, man, I don't know?
Sometimes it's good not to know. We took this on, and we were the general contractors, so we didn't know what we were doing, and probably that was a blessing in disguise. And the town of Kernersville, we can't give enough accolades to. The inspectors, and our contractors. We had our first contractor meeting, and one of the contractors said, look, we need to go old school on this one. And he was looking at his colleagues and saying, look, let's don't pussyfoot around. We've got to get this thing open for these guys. And so that set the tone.
Yeah.
And our contractors stepped up, and because they knew we didn't know what we were doing, and they were there and they helped us. So I never thought I'd be a general contractor. I just thought I was going to put sandwiches together. So we've learned a lot along the way.
What about you?
it's just crazy. Somebody said, look at all the things you've learned. And I said, I didn't want to learn any of those things. But I can do a lot. I can do some electrical now. I can do some little plumbing, so it's been interesting. But that very first day we met, and like he said, we didn't know. But they said, well, let's start a text. And so they all put their text message, their numbers in. And so every day I would send a good morning text message and say, hey, who's coming today? Because you don't want to have all the people there at the same time, because it is only 9 feet wide. It didn't get bigger, as some people have stated. Some people think it got bigger. It didn't. It didn't get any bigger. But we had to that was my job, coordinating and making sure that they weren't all there at the same time. So it has been valuable, I think, all the things that we've learned, understanding breakers, and it's just been crazy, all the things that I've learned. So
aren't challenges kind of that way? A lot of times we look at them from one perspective, but a lot of times we get on the backside of them. It's like, man, I learned some things here, and it's kind of helpful as you move along, in life. What would you say was the biggest challenge in all of this?
That's a really good question. I mean,
The biggest challenge.
I was working
Do you
with
want me
each
to
other.
tell you?
Working with
The biggest challenge was, so think of it this way. Think of it as I cook and I see 75 to 100 different people in that time period. And that is great because I get to give hugs and say hey and blah, blah, blah. And so for the last 8 months, it's just been us two, a lot of days, every day. So Monday through Friday, not just Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays. So, I mean, there have been some
It's a good thing we weren't married.
some clashes, let's say. So it's just interesting because you learn the dynamic. I mean, we learned a whole different dynamic of each other because we had to do things differently. And he wanted to do it one way and I wanted to do it another way. And
Right.
I win most of the time. I ask a lot of questions. I ask a lot of whys. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Which I don't think necessarily was bad all the
Right.
time
Right.
because we needed to understand exactly what was happening and, making sure everybody was safe and all those kinds of things.
Understanding the complexities of insurance,
Oh, yeah.
that is a whole dynamic field in itself. And actually, the field agent was great.
Oh, yes.
I mean, in developing a relationship there, and when it came down to it, I mean, they helped out a lot. At first, you don't see that, and as I'm thinking and seeing on TV, the folks that are having to start from ground zero in Los Angeles, and you don't get money right away. And again, besides our contractors, it was just people that were just generous with gifts. And it's not always about the money. It's about the stopping by. I mean, it's about just coming in and saying, we can't wait for you to open. It's just a part. It's more than just serving food, as we've said all along. It is developing relationships, and that's what's most important in life.
Yeah, I think it's amazing that you have a culture there that's just unbelievable, and I think it's an amazing thing, and it speaks volumes of the impact you guys have had on the community. So, I think that's really a neat thing. So. You're dealing with all of these different issues, and insurance is a challenge, and contracting is a challenge. I even remember one day I was going to try to stick my nose in, and I saw the sign out. I think there was some that y'all weren't there or something.
yeah.
Did y'all have that on the sign?
Probably,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, we're not here, so
Right.
it's like stay out. I think some of the flooring was being done
Oh,
or something
yes.
of that nature. So we talked about community a little bit, and you brought some things to the table today. I mean, what impact has the community had on this situation? We had this tragedy with a fire at a restaurant, and we got to rebuild and reopen, and the community really kind of on their own. I mean, because of the relationship, how they feel about you guys, it's been amazing to watch them step up.
It's been amazing to experience. I mean, it's
You feel the love?
it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And you talked about the culture a while ago.
Yeah.
We're takers of a place. That's what I'm realizing out of this, that the culture was set by the gentleman that started it, and that was Charlie Snow. That was back in 1947. And that he created that where people from around the town or visitors could come in a really relaxed atmosphere and just break bread together. And, that's what we're trying to continue to do. And we didn't realize the impact we had. But Charlie Snow and his family still get the credit. And when it's our time to hang up the apron and spatula, then we will look for that right person to take it to the next, because it is, we didn't realize it, but it has become over 77 years an institution.
Yeah.
And so
It's not just food.
Well,
It's
right.
putting on
That's
a
what I was
plate
going to
and
say. It
feeding
wasn't
people.
about food. It's
Right.
really not about food at all,
Right.
Yeah. I recently had a friend of mine who passed tragically, really heartbreaking story. I was called by another very close friend of mine. We all knew each other. We were involved in our fire department in South Louisiana. And we were talking about a lot of those old days because we had a restaurant that went out of business that was kind of an icon in our area. And we were spent a lot of time there, breakfast there and lunch there. A lot of times after we would do a call, and sometimes those calls, you have to kind of decompress depending on if it's a bad accident, people are injured. And, as a first responder, you're dealing with all those emotions. You've got all that visual in your head. And so it's good to get around the table and with a meal with your partners,
Colleagues, yep.
yeah, your colleagues, and kind of decompress a little bit. And then you develop relationships over time with all of those people. So that friend I was talking to on the phone, he's somebody, even to this day, we don't talk very much, but if I called him, he'd be here. If he called me, I'd be there. That's how special that is, because we've been in some difficult things. But we miss that. We talked about missing being able to sit at that table with our friends and be able to talk with each other. So,
And with technology and all the distractions that are around us, I mean, we purposely don't have a TV in there.
yeah.
Charlie had a TV in there, but he would only turn it on when there were sporting events.
Yes.
So that art of conversation is important. And you see a lot about families when the kids come in and who's on their phones and who's not. Right. And sometimes, since we're so small and you're sitting on those stools, you can't help but enter into a conversation with someone that you don't know. And that's the real gift to it all. The size makes a difference in forming and forging relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any particular stories? I know there's so many that really stand out to you guys, that the support that you've gotten from the community. I know there's a lot, and probably difficult to talk about some of that. And you certainly don't want to leave anybody out. But,
Yeah.
I mean, you brought some things to the table today. I know the community. I know you were recognized by the chamber recently, and man, some great honors.
So when I guess we came early July, so we hadn't had the 4th of July fundraiser. Right. So the VFW, I mean,
that was huge.
On
That
the
was,
4th
we
of
were
July.
there. Daniel
it
and I
was,
were there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you saw.
Yeah.
I mean, it was unbelievable. We
It
ran out of
was.
everything. I'm sending
Multiple
my daughter,
times.
go buy more.
Multiple
Yeah, I saw that a
So
couple of times.
It
I was like,
crazy.
oh my goodness.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was crazy. And so we so appreciate them.
Sure.
And the chamber was there the day after the fire, and the VFW was there. Right. So, those are important people for us because they were right there in that moment of, And then we had the one right here at Follies, and everybody came. So so those were the big things, but then really just the stopping by and saying, hey, and bringing these things because, we've talked about it's more than food, it's relationships. And I have a man that he'll call and he'll say, okay, when are you opening? I haven't talked to anybody today. I've been in my apartment all day. So I need you to open, because he would come for breakfast and lunch, every day that we were there, and people are lonely. I mean, and it's a perfect opportunity because you can sit one person. We're all the way down. So we can have all these people that just need, a smile or whatever, that can come in and they don't feel like they have to communicate, but we make it comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, we make it so that, all the people that have brought these things are some of those people who have.
So let's talk about a few of these. I know that's
This one just came in yesterday.
Yeah.
So Daniel, how you want me to show that?
It's good? Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
And the neat thing about this, I mean, it goes beyond Fitz on Main. This particular person started taking art lessons with Richard Hitchcock next door. And Richard we just lost in the past few months, who was an institution in our town to this day, and all the things he did. So through her lessons and her love and creativity of the arts, wanted to share her appreciation. And man, it's incredible. It is incredible. And she said, well, I'm just starting. And it looks
And
like,
I'm like, what?
something that could belong in the Smithsonian. And so we're thankful to Erica. And it's a gift that you can't put a price tag on.
Right.
I mean, this will be
It'll be in a
forever.
prominent place, I'm sure.
Oh,
It
yes,
will
it
be
will.
on the wall.
It will be on the
And
wall.
we would need a wheelbarrow to bring in the rest of the stuff. That's one example.
Yeah.
April's got some others, but I mean, we've got stuff already hanging on the wall that people have brought us. One thing we've kind of decided this time, we look back over all the stuff we've had. We've got so much stuff. We're going to try not to put as much stuff on the wall, and it's been hard. That's been hard.
And when he says we, he means he. He has so much stuff. Thermometers, so I've tried to limit those things. So that and just being organized with it, and it looks so much different than from, because I found the pictures from before January of 2020, because in January of 2020 we redid it and painted it gray. Before that it was this horrible green color, and there were thermometers stuck in every corner, every corner, and people would bring us. I mean, there were little transfer trucks of somebody who worked at wherever, and those were sitting out. And so there was stuff everywhere. So it is going to be a little more organized this time.
But we're still going to show our
Oh, yes.
appreciation
Oh, yes.
for it.
All of these things will.
I like this one too. I mean, I like all of them. This one was given this week as well. This is a branding iron.
Oh, okay. Cool.
This wood, when we started the rebuild, Charlie Snow, we found out, had some fires prior to our fire. And actually, somebody brought in a Kernersville News article from 1962 where Charlie referenced those fires back in the late 50s. And then, sure enough, when we tore the sheetrock off, we saw a wood ceiling. And this is the wood. So
Oh,
the
from
guy
it.
used the wood from the wood ceiling to frame the branding iron, and has a special gift for us with a lot of meaning as well. We really wanted to keep that wood,
Yeah.
but golly, the soot and the smell and how porous wood is, we just couldn't. We were going to use it somehow to rehab, but we just couldn't. We couldn't make that happen.
Yeah.
Some other stuff, Miss April?
Yeah.
So this is the poem Tom wrote, and Tom would come and see us every day.
Yeah.
Just about how, the impact we have on his life and how he feels. I mean, what he wrote is the way.
It's heartfelt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That is pretty cool. Tell us about this one.
And so this one is funny. So James, one of our customers, he had made us a plaque. I should have brought the other plaque.
Yeah. The one that has soot on it.
The
still.
one that has soot on
Yeah.
it, yes. So he made us a plaque in February 1st of 2023 was when we came back. And it looks very similar to this. It's black. It has a lot of soot on it. But then he just gave us this one. And so it says, congratulations on your reopening and remodel. Third time's the charm.
Third time's a charm.
And that was for January 2025. So that's why it's important that we try to open January of 2025. I'm just putting that out there. And these are from Miss Ann. She would come and eat with us when she wasn't working, one day a week.
Once a week
Yeah,
for
and
breakfast.
she would bring those.
Irish blessings.
Oh, yeah, that's from one of the girls at the VFW. And so it's actually had a cross with it. If you can see that the cross imprinted in it, it had that wooden. And so that's hanging on the girls' bathroom door now.
Yeah, last week somebody brought in a mug shot that's made of plaster.
It's like a little Irishman. It's
Out of plaster.
Yeah,
It's
out of
about that
plaster.
big.
It's really old.
So we put him on the gentleman's
Couldn't
restroom
take
door.
him down. We couldn't take him
To
down. But
differentiate
he's
guys
so
and
cute.
gals. He is
He's
cute.
so
He is
cute.
cute.
Well, that's
Yeah,
good.
That's
Yeah.
It's just stuff. It's really.
So what kind of changes have you made? You said you tried to organize some things. What can people expect? You talked about brick.
Yeah. After the fire, some of the plaster, we found out real quick. Charlie had 11 paint jobs.
At least.
At least. And then he had some early 60s wallpaper that was a quarter of an inch thick. And we tried new technology, dry ice blasting. We talked to some contractors. Oh, yeah, this is the ticket. This will take it right off. It didn't touch it. I mean, you could put this around a tank. It's like an armor shield. But one of the things that we discovered in the fire was that it burnt some of the plaster off, particularly in the men's bathroom where the fire started. Now, our building is sandwiched between two other buildings, only 9 feet wide. And so, in essence, when the plaster was burned off, that is the exterior of the other building. Okay. So we got the old chisel hammer, and said, "Okay, that's really cool look. So let's show off some more of that. Let's remove some more of that plaster." And in that process, you couldn't see for a week because there was a dust cloud. But the neat thing was we found little hidden surprises. One of the surprises was, wow, there's a brick, and it's different than the rest of the brick of the wall. So I guess when Charlie bought that lot for $400 back in 1947, he had to go to his neighbor and say, I got to brick in your windows. I need to brick in your windows so I can open up a cafe. So you can see the remnants of where those windows were. I wonder what kind of deal he worked out with Mr. Porter, who owned the Five and Dime. It's got a different look with the brick walls. And you want to talk about the flooring a little bit?
Yeah, we've got an epoxy floor that is so cool looking. It feels like it's fancier, but it's really not. I mean, it's new. Yeah. So you don't want to put the same old in it. So I took advantage of that for sure. It's got new pendant lights, new tables, new chairs. We kept the counter underneath part. So that is original, and the stools are original. Okay. So we tried to keep that, but I got granite on the top of my counter. So fancy, but it should be easier to clean, I think. We got some new equipment, but for the most part, and we've been able to, Angie at Southwinds Gallery is a magician. I mean, that day, I guess it was the day after, she said, "Get me all of those pictures. Get them out of the glass now." So we got them out of the glass. The pictures themselves sat in the pod, so they were, I guess, kind of airing. And then she was able to save
it's pretty impressive. What we found in the fire was the new code doesn't allow this. The new code says if there's any detection of smoke, the HVAC unit turns off. Obviously, having an older HVAC system, much of the destruction was caused because of the heat. And the air conditioning was trying to
cool it off.
So one side of the wall where the vents were, everything on that wall, we pretty much got toasted. I mean, we lost. The other side, right behind the vents, had soot and fire damage, but was able to be restored. And I'm a collector of old posters from World War I era, and amazingly, we were able to recover 3 of those. And that's 110 years old already.
Right. Yes.
Right. And it still has soot, and the edges are burnt. And probably the best thing that we kept on that wall that really took the heat was we kept that big long mirror.
Yeah.
And that mirror, has a mark on it. And that mark is where that toxic level was. And you can see it. It's a wave going all the way down. And a fireman came in a couple of months ago. He said, so that's that line that they talk about when I'm going to fire school. Mm-hmm. Where above that, there's no oxygen. Right. And below that is still, and I have one thermometer where the top of it was completely black, but the bottom was below that toxic zone, and you could still read it. It's being a firefighter, Yeah. So that mirror is the signature. I really like that mirror to show.
And it looks dirty. I mean, my son came in yesterday, goes, "I can't believe you haven't cleaned the mirror," because you really can't. Right. From that line, you can see, and maybe there are these little circles in it. So we assumed that was the glue, maybe where it was on the back, and it kind of came through. And then there's one place that's busted inside of it.
Sure.
Not on the
Yeah.
outside,
A lot
but
of people
inside.
go, why didn't, they'll
Right.
think that. But
Yeah.
we have to keep those. That's a memory for
Sure,
us.
Yeah.
absolutely. I think it's important too. I mean, it's part of the character of the place, the character of Fitz, and the culture of it.
Right.
Yeah, it's great to keep those types of things. But it sounds like with all of the stuff that you have, maybe one day you're going to have to open a museum.
Well,
Fitz
that's what we
Museum.
said. Maybe we'll just call it that.
I
Not
said
Cook
that
Burgers.
yesterday jokingly. You come in the
Okay,
front
well,
door,
good.
we serve you a hot dog when you walk through, and then you go out the back.
Yeah,
That's
a museum.
That's the fourth
The
time
museum.
around. We'll get another
Fourth
plaque.
time. Okay.
Oh, I
That's
think that's
pretty good.
cool. Anything going to change on the menu?
We have been so busy with construction, all these kind of things. And if we're going to open in the next couple of weeks or shortly thereafter, the one thing that we have yet to talk about to do is building that menu back together. I don't think we'll have a lot of changes.
I don't think so.
A lot of things have changed during that past 8 months. When we started calling our vendors, the biggest surprise has been what's happening in the egg department. And so, you think the stock market is risky. Commodities they fluctuate a lot more than the stock market. That we've found that's been interesting. So no, we might simplify it even a little bit more. Just because we're so small, we just we may simplify the menu, but that is like priority number one probably this afternoon. We got to get things
I'm
going.
thinking about that.
We got to take off our construction hats and get
No,
back
really.
to the real deal.
Well, I'm excited about all that happening. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this question, and because we are a small business leaders podcast. So going through this experience, even with the excitement of opening back up, what stands out in y'all's minds about if you would give advice to another business owner with, that could possibly face something catastrophic like this? What would you tell them? What kind of advice?
Wow. The resolve that we received, that we have, the fiber of building back, came from the gift of others. And you never know when you're making a memory. So whether you're in the food business or the landscaping business, whatever business that you're in, as a former principal, the more I realize that it's still about people. And what we have certainly learned is, as I said in our opening comments, the humanity. When the chips are down, don't underestimate the power, the influence, the resolve that other people can give you to strengthen your heart and get that steely resolve to build back or to recreate. It's other people uplifting you certainly have gotten us through this. And so follow your dream, and you never know where it'll turn out.
So people and relationships are just critical. And really, I think that applies to any business that there is. Try to create those relationships. You have that network within the community, and that's what's giving you the purpose to move forward. You have to open. And that's one of the things you have to.
We have to. Right.
And I'm new to the community, and I felt that from the beginning, and then have been able to observe it as you've gone through this process now, because we're a year and a half in to Kernersville for us. It's been a blessing to me to watch, because I see all these elements unfolding. I understand them because I've lived through many of them myself,
Right.
but to see it unfold in this way has just been a huge, huge blessing.
Yeah, it really has been.
Yeah. How about for you, April?
Well, practical advice here.
Yes.
Okay. So you need to know about your insurance. You need to know that you're covered. You need to understand it. I mean, I could be an insurance person right now because I feel like I have learned so much about what's important and what's not important and how long it takes. And it wasn't we felt like, please give us some money so we could do something. But it really wasn't that long of a time period till we got money. But you need to understand, you need to have, the only reason we had our appliances and their model numbers was because we'd applied for an ABC permit. So somebody had done that, and we'd put all that together. If I didn't have that, I would have had nothing. Have pictures of
Documentation.
everything. Yeah, and understanding your insurance policy and what that means. And this is what you'll get for this. And this is what, because it's, I mean, it's broken down into pieces. And what you get for this, well, we didn't get anything hardly for our contents.
Right.
Because that was not really a piece that we thought was covered or important or whatever. So that would be number one, what I would say for somebody coming in, to make sure when you're setting up your business that this is what you have. And then if you have to go through a process, making sure, I mean, we had great contractors, don't get me wrong, but, we didn't know some of them to begin with. Right. Yeah. So, and, it was a challenge. We were a challenge. I mean, think about what we were.
Right.
And that blankety blank ductwork that comes down the middle of the room. Yeah. Those boys had never done that before. Right. So they didn't understand. Yeah. And so just making sure that, okay, we're a restaurant. Have you done a restaurant before? That should have been the number one question. Then can you do this? This is going to be, because that was what they said, because they were all great. And so Miss April, they're very respectful. But, well, we've never done one where you can still see it. Yeah. Everybody's is up in a roof or up in a ceiling. Right. And so that was important, and all that conduit. There's conduit everywhere. And that bothers me, but it makes it look more industrial, I suppose. We'll call it that. Yeah. So just understanding the different pieces coming into a new business.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great. I'm looking forward to you guys opening back up. So what do I know getting back going, getting settled in, have y'all thought of any more down the road? Probably not, but I have to ask.
We don't even have our menu. We have been so laser focused on just getting the day-to-day operational part as being the general contractors. It's kind of like hit us in the past couple of weeks. Well, we got to start getting that other mindset of food preparation and so we don't know what's down the road. And sometimes it's good not to know. You just kind of play that part by ear. I do want to say we've given a lot of kudos to the town and the inspectors and our contractors and our community and our close personal friends, our spouses who've supported us. I've worked longer hours and harder now than just serving hot dogs and leaving at 3:30. But the health department, there's a reason they exist. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they have been helpful as we rebuild and what we can do and what we can't do. And sometimes things think, well, why do you have to do that? But there's a reason for the safety of others. So everybody, again, I can't say enough for the folks who saw the dilemma we were in and really, I think, went above and beyond to make sure that we could get back in a really timely manner.
Yeah.
On our neighbors, we can't forget Edward Jones because, I mean, literally, it had to have been that Monday after the fire was on Thursday. We worked Friday. It had to be Monday, and Larry came out and he said, well, y'all need a place. And literally, we moved in like the Beverly Hillbillies, and we've been living back there in those two. We were in the middle office. They kicked us out of that one, so then we put us in a little office. And so, I mean, because we wouldn't have. I guess we would have met in my car or in the trunk of my car. I guess we would have. But that has been a great blessing that they. They're like, well, we're going to miss you. I'm like, well, you're going to be my hiding place. Yeah. So
but everybody on the block, too.
Well, yeah. And
everybody on the block.
We've tried to, make amends. I've been cooking chips every day that I've had my fryer on and taking chips here, taking chips because they, that pod is in the parking place. The dumpster was in a parking place. So the girls next door with the hair salon.
And actually, our first gift monetarily came from that letter that one of our neighbors gave us. That,
Yeah, but we don't know where the money came from.
we don't.
We don't know
Yeah,
where
we
the
don't
money
know where
came
the money
from.
came from, but
Yeah.
obviously one of our neighbors, business neighbors down the street, started
Somewhere.
something, and a lot of business neighbors.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
A lot of business neighbors did some contributions and just support, and it's Kernersville is a strong community, and we're blessed to live in it.
Yeah, that's very obvious, and it's really been neat to kind of walk this road and see all of it with you guys. And I thank you so much for coming in
Thank you.
today.
Well, we thank
We've been wanting to get you in, and I know the opening is right around the corner, and that's going to start a whole new dynamic. So, man, it's been incredible having you guys, getting to know you guys a little bit, and it's been a blessing to all of us here at Legacy. So thank you so much. The best way, I guess, to keep up with things is your
On the
social
Facebook,
media,
yep,
Facebook.
on the Facebook page. Yep, I'll be
Best
putting
place?
it out there. That's the best place,
Okay,
and
I
we're
know
gonna
that.
make a sign out front. So hopefully today.
Today,
figured
we'll
out.
put something out front.
Yeah, well, good deal.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here
Thank
with us
you.
today. I know you have a lot to do. Got to go look at that menu today
Yeah.
and get all that figured out. But thank you so much for being here. And
Thank you, Lamar.
audience, for joining us today. And we absolutely love what we do here. This is one of the reasons that we do. So you can find out more about us by going to legacypodcaststudio.com. We're on all the social media platforms. You can find us by looking for Legacy Podcast Studio. And if you're interested in sharing your story, because there are a lot of business entrepreneurs, people that provide services in our community. You've heard some great advice today mixed within this story, and you have a story to tell as well. We'd love to help you tell that story, and if you'll get a hold of us, we can have a conversation about that. And you may be interested in starting your own podcast. I'm real excited because we have 2 new podcasts that'll be coming out of our studio here very soon. They're going to be very helpful. We already, one of them's in production. We've seen a lot of the episodes, and they're really amazing. So get in touch with us if we can help you in any way, and keep my co-host in your prayers, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye. All right, we made it.